Hi guys, I'm Stephanie and I want to make a book recommendation to you today for this book, The Tiger Mom's Tale by Liao Butler. I think that this book is relevant and important to Asian Americans, global Asians, and Asian women, specifically to Taiwanese Americans and Taiwanese American women. So, as I mentioned, the author is Liao Butler. She was born in Taiwan and moved to the States when she was about 7. So this is her first book, and while as a writer I can kind of feel that as I'm reading through it. She tells an interesting story and an important one about what it is to be Taiwanese American, or both Taiwanese and American, however you want to look at it. So this is an imaginary story of a young woman named Lexa Thomas, a personal trainer in her mid-30s who is mixed Taiwanese and American and lives in New York City. Her maternal side of the family lives there in New York, and her paternal side lives in Taichung, Taiwan. She's relatively estranged from her paternal side, as her parents just had a short affair, after which her father continued to live in Taiwan and her mother in America. And that's the environment she was brought up in, where she of course struggled with identity, sometimes not feeling white enough, sometimes not feeling Asian enough. As a young girl, in an attempt to kind of bridge this cultural gap, Lexa's mom brings her to visit her family in Taiwan, only to be set up and sabotaged by her father's new wife, who hates that this girl has shown up in their lives, not because of anything that Alexa has done, but just for existing. Nevertheless, while Lexa's in Taiwan, we experience with her some of her first encounters with the Taiwanese language, with her Meimei, her younger sister, with niu rou mian, beef noodle soup, night market foods like grilled squid, shangchang, which is Taiwanese sausage tucked into a rice sausage. Something that was a little difficult for me to understand as well when I first came to Taiwan. A sausage within a sausage. What's that about? But you have to be Taiwanese to get it, I think. Tianbula, which is Taiwanese fish tempura. Corn with sha cha jiang, Taiwanese barbecue sauce. Shaved ice, and more. So she gets her first jade bracelet. She sees traditional Chinese medicine, shelves and bins of herbs, roots, and flowers at a medicine shop. Her grandmother shows her how to make tea eggs with star anise, rock sugar, soy sauce, salt, and the secret ingredient, Angelica sinensis. For those of you who are familiar with Angelica sinensis, some of these Chinese medicines or Chinese herbs have really interesting names when they're translated to English, because they kind of just have a Latin medicinal type name that nobody really understands. So it's a whole myriad of experiences we have with her, with a mix of delight and drama that particularly comes out when Lexa is included in a will and inherits wealth as an adult that requires her to go back to Taiwan again and deal with money and family issues again. Now, you already know that's going to be high drama, and someone definitely ends up in the hospital. This we know. I know, as a Taiwanese American, this is very plausible when dealing with family, money, and property in Taiwan. This realistic portrayal of the toxicity, the secrecy, and the resentments held within the older generation, but the younger generation's refusal to allow that to stand in the way of authentic, heartfelt relationship forming with one another across culture, time, and space is really heartwarming. And as I found in my own experience as well, true to life. So here's one of these heartwarming scenes I'd like to share with you. Shuling translated for her. She's saying, "You still have an auspicious nose. It's nice and rounded at the bottom, like the Taiwan wax apple. She's happy you didn't lose your nose when you grew up." Lexa heard Maddie stifle a snort of laughter behind her and felt her own lips twitch in response. Amanex focused on Lexa's ears and continued speaking in Taiwanese. "And your earlobes are still big and fat, signifying good fortune and a good life. I always thought big earlobes just meant you could have multiple earrings, Maddie said. Lexa smiled at her words, even as she glowed inside from Ama's attention. Ama finally let go of Lexa, and Lexa pulled Maddie next to her. Ama, this is my American sister, Maddie. Welcome, welcome, Ama spoke one of the few English words she knew, smiling widely and patting Maddie on the arm. Thanks for having me, Ama, Maddie said, her voice at a reverent pitch. They smiled at each other, and then Ama clapped her hands and spoke in Mandarin. Lai, lai, 吃饭. Lexa turned to Maddie. Are you hungry? She wants us to eat. She's been making dumplings in anticipation of your visit, Shuling said. Ama makes the best dumplings. When we were younger, we'd have these big dumpling making parties. All the cousins and aunts would gather here in Ama's kitchen, and we'd make huge batches of dumplings to freeze so we could have them anytime. We'd create an assembly line. One person rolled out the disc, someone else would put the filling on the wrapper, another would pinch it shut. We'd fight over who got to mix the meat and vegetable mixture. Shuling smiled. The boy cousins always got into dough fights, throwing bits of dough at each other until Ama scolded them and made them make tea for the rest of us. That sounds like so much fun, Lexa bit her bottom lip, feeling a swell of emotion at all she'd missed over the years with her grandmother and the rest of the family. She can teach you how to make them. She makes different kinds, with pork or chicken, with chives and leeks, or even all vegetarian ones. That would be amazing, Lexa turned to Maddie. We could make them at home with Mom. Maddie nodded. I can't wait to taste Ama's dumplings. Very wholesome. Not the whole book is that wholesome, I have to say. There are bits that are about her sexual journey as well, and being essentialized and fetishized by white men at bars who treat her like an Asian prostitute. So there's that to look forward to as well, and very realistic as well. I can vouch for that. So yes, this is a beautiful book. Going back to that scene, dumpling making is a sacred act in my household with my mom as well. Always has been. And so I particularly like that scene I just read to you. Literature like this did not exist when I was young, and I was surprised to have found this book so readily at a major bookstore in the US, but these kinds of stories need to be told. Stories of Taiwanese American identity, of global travel and migration, and a woman's growth journey in her own self-realization, along with her travels back and forth between Taiwan and America. So, The Tiger Mom's Tale, check it out.